Good evening, and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the Dayton Board of Selectmen. The meeting will begin at 6:02 p.m. It is a hybrid meeting. The Zoom meeting information includes the ID 884-8366-6589, passcode 580044. Phone login is 1-929-205-6099. This agenda is subject to revisions, additions prior to the meeting. Public input may be provided using the following methods. Contact the Board of Selectmen at boardofselectmen@dayton-ma.gov to provide input prior to the meeting. B, via Zoom call-in by phone. Continued play on Dayton Channel 9 and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/Town of Dayton. This meeting is being recorded. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. At this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order and recognize.
Ken Pacheco's present.
And thank you very much. Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since our last meeting, the following residents of Dayton have passed. Sandra DeWatt of North Dayton, 67 years old, passed on May 22nd. She was the wife of George DeWatt. Emily L. Pacheco, 90, passed on May 28th. She was the mother of Senator Mark Pacheco. Virginia Sylvia. Mrs. Sylvia was 99 years old, a longtime resident of North Dayton, and I believe the most recent holder of the cane. It recognizes the oldest person in Dayton. She passed away on May 24th at Morton Hospital. She was the wife of the late John G. Sylvia. Vivian White passed on May 27th. She was 70, and she was the loving wife of Richard G. White. And also Ellis Strange, age 84, of North Dayton, husband to Irene Strange. Mr. Ellis was a former member of the Dayton Fire Department. Our thoughts and condolences go out to the families of these people at this time. Thank you. Thank you very much. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Town Administrator Mike Mullen for any introductory comments, and then we will have a presentation from Zach Blake, Financial Management Resource Bureau Chief, and Frank Gervasio, Project Manager of the Division of Local Services, Financial Management Resource Bureau.
So, Thank you, Chairman. As a board and public may remember, last July, we reached out to the Department of Revenue's Division of Local Services to request a financial management review. At that time last year, we've already had a transition in the position of town administrator. We were going through a transition in the office of the town accountant, an anticipated transition with our principal assessor as well, and we were just beginning a transition where the 20-year chairman of the FinCom had just resigned. So we wanted to really check in with the Division of Local Services, see where we were, what type of blueprint could be the priorities for a new financial team, and how going forward we could build on our financial planning efforts, in all of our efforts related to budgetary and fiscal planning. I believe starting the end of October, the beginning of November, was when the town's financial management review actually began. The Department of Revenue Division of Local Services, they started coming to town. I believe the first part of December, they met with all of our financial department heads. The then chairman of the Board of Selectmen, the former chair of the Board of Assessors. They met with our financial team, the assistants, in each of our financial offices, and they also had discussions with the current chairman of the FinCom, and also the chairman of the Capital Outlay Committee as well. So it's safe to say, over the last 6 months or so, your DOS and especially Frank Gervasio and Zach Blake, and Deb Wagner as well, who isn't here tonight. They've been a huge resource for us. They have picked up a lot of things that we, and our new town accountant especially, over the last year have picked up on, and want, in a plan really to run with and move forward on. So the department, Frank Gervasio and Zach are here tonight to give an update on what they found in their review, and also to provide recommendations, on how we might be able to strengthen where we are now. So Frank, you want to?
Mike, you're running the slides?
Yeah, I'll run. I think the wireless might be a little sensitive over there, Frank, so.
Okay, great. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having us this evening, and thank you to the rest of the members. I'll say this multiple times throughout my presentation, but a thanks to Mike and the rest of the staff here in Dayton. It was a pleasure to work with all of them, and I'll be repeating myself quite a bit when I say you have a lot to be proud of the team here. Really something remarkable going on. So my name is Frank Gervasio from the Division of Local Services, and I served as the project manager for this financial management review for the town of Dayton. As Mike mentioned, I'm joined by my colleague, Zach Blake, who's the bureau chief for the Financial Management Resources Bureau. Zach and a few other of our colleagues, including Deb Wagner, as Mike mentioned, participated in the review, participated in our interviews with local officials here in Dayton, and our analysis of Dayton's financial situation that was part of the review. Tonight, I'm going to provide a brief overview of our process and highlight some of our recommendations. Oh, sorry.
So I'm just going to move this over
no
so
worries.
the mic can pick you up as well. Here you go. You're good.
Is that better?
Yeah, no, it's for the Zoom roll.
Oh,
Sorry
okay.
about that.
Hello, everyone out there. Hope you can hear me now. Okay. Today, I'm going to provide a brief overview of our process and highlight some of our recommendations that were made to the board in our report published in April. We'll then be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Before starting, I want to thank the team in Dayton for their time and assistance during the review. As I'll mention, Dayton should be proud of the financial management team it has in place. So if you go, thank you, Mike. So this slide basically just breaks down the process of our review. It was largely focused on how Dayton's town government is organized, the financial policies that guide its fiscal management, and the individual operational procedures that take place in the town's financial offices. So we really try to get both sort of a 30,000-foot view of how things work, but also sort of a understanding of how things go day to day in town hall. During the review, we spoke with a wide array of both elected and appointed officials, the full list of which is available in the report. And I should also mention the report is published online on our website for everyone to read and review. Again, I'd like to reiterate our gratitude to the officials we spoke with here in Dayton. You were all very easy to work with, and we appreciated your time, effort, and candor. We also took a lot of time analyzing financial data, all of which is reported directly from the town to the Division of Local Services and is also available publicly online. We also reviewed the town's bylaws and, as I mentioned, any existing policies and procedures in place. In general, we also try to gauge levels of cooperation and communication among town management, including both elected and appointed staff. As we'll discuss, the town has a lot to be proud of in this regard. If you go to the next slide, please, Mike. So I won't be breaking any news on this slide. I'm just going to provide a very quick profile, a community profile of the town. So as we all know, Dayton is a town of just under 8,000 residents, located in Bristol County, that operates under a Board of Selectmen, town administrator, open town meeting form of government. The town's operating expenditures total about $26 million, the majority of which is spent on assessments due to the 3 regional school districts that the town is a member of. In terms of operating strengths, the town has built strong reserve levels in recent years and has historically used conservative financial management practices. From our vantage point, Dayton has a very strong and collaborative financial management team in place. The town has handled recent turnover well, and the town's professional staff and policymakers enjoy a collaborative relationship. This, in and of itself, positions Dayton well for the future. As far as the challenges that face Dayton, as with many communities across the Commonwealth, significant capital investments are on the horizon. The town is in need of a new library, fire station, and road and sewer repairs. In addition, voters in the Bristol-Plymouth Regional Technical School District recently approved a new $305 million school project, which will leave Dayton with an annual assessment of $700 to $800 million in debt service. Dayton also lacks formal financial policies and procedures, which are tools needed to navigate the looming financial challenges that the town now faces as a result of its significant capital needs and ongoing budget pressures. We also believe that the town's excess levy capacity, reported at over $1 million during the past 2 fiscal years, has risk of decreasing significantly soon. If you go to the next slide, Mike. The town, as you can see on this slide, the town has been committed to maintaining strong reserve levels. As you can see, combined free cash and general stabilization fund levels have remained relatively high in recent years. Combined reserves as a percentage of operating expenditures were a strong 14% in fiscal '21. These totals also exclude the town's capital stabilization fund, which it began funding in fiscal '17. The end-of-year balance for this fund totaled about $883,000 for fiscal '21. Go to the next slide, Mike, please. Thank you. As this chart shows, Dayton's excess levy capacity, which is the difference between the levy limit and the amount of real and personal property taxes actually levied in a given year, has grown in recent years. However, this increase is directly tied to the town's use of free cash, a one-time revenue source, to offset the annual impact of the 2018 debt exclusion. Any reduction in free cash appropriated for this purpose would therefore reduce the town's amount of excess capacity and increase property tax bills. Unfortunately, there is reason to believe that Dayton's typical amount of certified free cash might decline beginning in fiscal year 2023. Pandemic-related spending freezes, associated departmental turnbacks, and one-time federal aid that have led to increased levels of free cash for Dayton and really across the Commonwealth are likely to drop off going forward. Next slide, please, Mike. So now I'm going to highlight just a few of the recommendations that were made in the report, but again, we'll be happy to answer any questions about the report in general once we've wrapped up here in a few minutes. And again, the full report is available online for everyone to take a look at. So we first recommend that the town convert the elected treasurer-collector to an appointed position. Massachusetts communities have been moving toward appointed positions to improve financial accountability, as well as to ensure that future treasurer-collectors have strong professional credentials and relevant experience. This trend has been driven by the strong belief that the treasurer-collector is a position in municipal government, much like the accountant and assessor, that requires a specific skill set, and therefore that the most qualified should be hired via a rigorous screening process. We understand that the town recently rejected such a proposal to convert the elected treasurer-collector to an appointed one. We recommend that local officials explore ways to address these concerns held by residents. For example, the town could consider creating a special hiring committee to ensure an experienced candidate without any bias or outside agenda is ready to assume the necessary responsibilities. We also recommend that the town conduct a comprehensive review of its bylaws and make necessary updates to establish a formal and transparent framework of codes, policies, and procedures under which town government operates. While proposing updates to the current bylaws, local officials should use this opportunity to ensure that a strong financial management and oversight structure with clear lines of accountability are in place. The town should also adopt a bylaw that codifies the entire budget process. The bylaw should establish a budget timeline, clearly define the responsibilities of various town officers in the process, and set out the order of tasks to be completed. Next slide, please, Mike. Thank you. The town could look to similar communities as a starting point for its own bylaw review. Benchmarking the town against other communities with similar socioeconomic and financial characteristics can be helpful when considering what organizational and fiscal management models may be worth considering. This exercise may also be beneficial when developing financial policies and comparing the town's fiscal condition to others. Based on the data points shown, these are the towns we consider to be Dayton's peers. And I'll also add that all these data points that we pulled and all the data that we used to build this comparison, all of that is available on our website. So if the town wanted to look at other data points that would be available or to recreate this list on their own, you can do so using our data bank that's available, again, on our website. Yes, please. Thank you. As part of the bylaw review, we recommend that the town take concrete steps to clarify the roles and responsibilities of its appointed town assessor and the elected board of assessors. The prior town assessor also served simultaneously as chair of the board of assessors, and our understanding is that the town assessor before her also held both roles at the same time. The current town assessor does not serve on the board. This has led to some confusion about the distinction between the role of the town assessor and that of the board's chair, as the roles were essentially and unofficially one and the same until recently. While specific models of oversight and management of day-to-day operations in assessing offices vary by community, there still needs to be an agreed-upon list of codified responsibilities for both professional and elected staff. In any community, we discourage any one individual serving as a single point of failure, meaning if that person should transition suddenly out of the organization, the town should be left with both a smooth personnel and operational transition. As it relates to the assessing department, the town should also ensure that staff have the necessary tools at their disposal to fulfill their responsibilities. This includes not only software and professional services, but also professional development and training opportunities. It is in the town's interest to invest in its assessing operations. Not doing so could lead to failure to capture new growth in the tax base, which is especially critical given the financial scenario the town currently faces. Thanks. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
Financial policies?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry about that. We also recommend that the Board of Selectmen implement and periodically review a set of formal financial policies. These policies will strengthen the town's internal controls, provide instructive guidance, and promote consistency as local officials plan, direct, monitor, and protect municipal assets and resources. As a model that could be converted for local adoption, Dayton could look to the policy manual that we recently created for the town of Berlin and a sample ambulance receivables policy, which we included with the report. As mentioned previously, Referring to adopted policies of peer communities may also be a good starting point. We suggest that the town administrator review our policy manuals and seek input from selectmen and finance committee members on specific policy decision points, such as targets for reserve and debt levels, forecasting assumptions, and other specifics. A consensus between the two groups is desirable. Once any operational policy has been adopted, the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrator should ensure that it is distributed to all applicable parties, including all relevant department heads. Yes, now, thank you, sorry about that. We also recommend that the town develop and maintain a 5-year financial forecast to guide its budget process and overall financial strategy. Given the requirements of Proposition 2.5, municipalities must first determine what revenues will be available in coming fiscal years prior to making budgetary decisions, and a forecast will allow Dayton to perform such an analysis with different budget scenarios. A forecast will enable Dayton to promote long-term financial health and plan strategically for capital investments. It allows for the evaluation of the effect of budget choices, including wage increases offered via collective bargaining, and the addition to or subtraction from existing town services. These and other recommendations and sample financial policies included in the report are intended to assist Dayton as it continues its team-oriented approach to addressing challenges. As a reminder, the full financial management review is available on our website for all to read. We're now happy to answer any questions that you might have, but before doing so, I do want to thank again all of the officials we spoke with and worked with during the course of our review. As I mentioned during the introduction, the town is well positioned for the future with this team in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions, just want to comment that I did like the report. I read the whole report, even though the numbers are kind of glazed over some of the numbers, unfortunately. And I did look at your comments and your findings, and I'm satisfied with the response from our town accountant on those findings. So,
Glad to hear.
thank you for the report.
Yeah, and thank you for your time.
Very thorough. I mean, it was great reading it, and thank you.
And again, thank you all for your time and for your cooperation amongst your staff as well.
I do have some questions. In your review, did you take a look at the software that both the accountant and treasurer's office use? And based on that, did you have any recommendations specifically in regards to interfacing so that things are more formal and more available for both sides to look at the numbers in real time in both departments?
Yeah, we, I think what I'd say is we spent, and I think the last recommendation in the report really speaks to this. We thought there was definitely room for modernization in sort of the day-to-day operations and reporting, moving away from paper-based type procedures and moving to more software, electronic, digital reporting, and using the same software and modules across the town's financial offices so that, as you said, they could talk to each other. We didn't get into specifics about individual softwares that the town should consider upgrading to, because we thought that the first priority was to get away from so much of the paper-based procedures, and to first focus on that, and then maybe decide after, where should we be investing in new software, or new modules, or anything like that.
Now, you work with many communities. Do most of them use Munis?
I don't know if specifically the breakdown. I don't know if you have any ideas, Zach. I mean, I know many do, but I don't know the specifics.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly Munis is one of the top 3 products in the state. It has a good reputation. Other than that, we look towards maximizing the efficiency of the software more than anything else. We don't comment on the individual software and the qualities of that. That's to your financial team to decide, but we look for, as Frank mentioned in the last recommendation, maximizing the efficiency and the redundancy of the data entry, and with the intent to reduce the amount of paperwork that's flowing amongst departments.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other questions?
Great, all right.
Thank you very much.
Yep, and we're available for any other follow-up or anything like that. Mike has all of our contact information, so give us a shout if you need.
As we,
Thank you.
as we go forward, and it's evident we have work to do, that definitely will be a resource, very valuable resource to us.
Glad to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, just, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to conclude by saying that, you know, our engagement with the town does not end with this report. If there's any questions that arise, or you have future issues that come up that you would like to seek our guidance on, we'd be more than happy to participate in those kinds of discussions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Guys.
Mr. Mullen, unless you have anything further, I would like to ask Mrs. Annabelle Powell to come up.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Ms. Powell.
I would just like to say a couple of things about what's happening at the Council on Aging. We've been trying to get back in running. And for the month of June, we're having a presentation called Planning for Medicare, Countdown to 65, in collaboration with the Dayton Public Library. That's happening Monday, June 13th at 3 o'clock. I wanted people to know that our support group is back up and running, and that's occurring Thursday, June 23rd from 1 to 2. Also, a reminder that our fitness classes are also happening. And Mondays is exercise at prime time, chair yoga on Wednesdays at Lincoln Village, and the Tai Chi classes on Fridays at the Primetime Building. Also, I wanted to let the residents know that a celebration of seniors presented by the District Attorney's Office, Coastline Elders, and the Town of Rochester will be held on Friday, June 17th from 9 to 12 at White's of Westport. They asking all elders to come on down for a free breakfast, a resource fair, and engaging speakers on topics important to seniors in our community. The Lincoln Village Community Center has an abundance of books and puzzles. If anyone is interested, please come down and help yourself. I'd like to ask anyone who is 60 and over who is not receiving our monthly newsletter, the Strawberry Vine, to please contact us so that we can put them on our mailing list. I would like people to save the date in July. The Dayton Council on Aging will be at the Firecracker Festival on July 9th, starting at 1 p.m. Come and visit us. I would love to meet you. If we already know each other, come and say hi. I've missed you. Also in July, with the help of the Town of Dayton Community Outreach Officer, Patrolman Stephen Ferreira, Bristol County District Attorney Thomas Quinn will be coming to the Dayton Council on Aging to speak on the growing issue of elder abuse, various forms of financial abuse, scams and frauds that put today's seniors at risk. We'll also be holding an art class for the public, a presentation by Charm Medical Supply, an elder dental presentation, and a caption call presentation which offers free phones to those hard of hearing, no matter income levels. I would like to end with a little reminder. The summer is here. That means no matter your age, we all need to remind ourselves to drink a little bit more water, eat fruits and vegetables that have a high water content. And of course, always consult with your doctor, right, if you're changing your diet. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful evening.
Ms. Powell, I understand this evening that we will be reviewing, discussing, and acting on the office manager for the Council on Aging and also the program manager. So before we ask for you.
I did not know we were discussing that tonight.
Yeah, so yeah, with the Council on Aging, Board of Directors approval this afternoon, we do need approval from the Board of, from the Selectmen before we can post. So the updated job descriptions have also been done as part, have been done as part of our ongoing waging classification study, that based on the input that has been provided by the waging classification study, we're going through a process now where all of our job descriptions are being updated, for the clerical union employees. But because of the need, in the vacancies to post, the old Bella position as we usually refer to it, the office manager position, and then with the pending retirement, of Sheila New as well, we wanted to seek the Council on Aging Board of Directors approval on the job descriptions before we post them, based on our hiring policy. And as I mentioned, we did. The Council on Aging Board of Directors had a meeting earlier this afternoon where they did approve the updated job descriptions. So now we're seeking the board's approval as well, so we can post, and continue to plan for that transition that we have in that department.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Powell, in looking at the job descriptions, were there any areas in particular where you want to make sure that we emphasize as we go through the hiring?
Sheila and I did go over them, and we spoke again about it today, and we did address any concerns that we did have on the originals, the drafts that came. I'm pretty happy with the way they are.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ferry, you are a member of the Council on Aging. Are you still the chairman?
Yes, sir.
In reviewing and establishing these job descriptions, was there any areas that you prioritized or thought were really important, and certain qualities that you're looking for in the people we will hire to fill these positions?
That's a loaded question.
Well,
We focused today mostly on the study that was done, and we did tweak it a little bit more with Mr. Mullen. He did join our meeting this afternoon too to help expedite this to get us where we are this afternoon. But we do look forward to those two new people in particular of interest.
so it would be safe to say that the information that we received through the study played a part in establishing this job description?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And just really to be clear, the aging classification study is in its final process stages now. So I do actually expect additional recommendations to come forward that don't have an impact on the job description themselves. But certainly with the transition that has happened in Council on Aging, having this process ongoing as part of that has helped us really streamline and be well prepared to go out and advertise for these really important positions.
Before we vote, could I have a timeline as to when these will be posted, when interviews will be handled, and when you will hope to have someone starting?
We hope to post with the board approvals, hope to post the jobs tomorrow with the board's approval. The posting for both positions, the office manager and the program manager, will be posted for 2 weeks. The posting will close June 23rd. That will give that will give an internal screening committee that has been organized by Bella the ability to screen the candidates and then make recommendations to interview 2 candidates for each position to the Council on Aging Board of Directors. That screening and those interviews before the Board of Directors will happen likely the last week of June and the week of the 4th of July. It is the hope and the plan to bring forward to the Board of Selectmen, I believe at its July 13th meeting, the recommendations to hire for both positions.
Thank you. We'll put that on the agenda for the 13th.
Yes, absolutely, because the transition and the reopening of prime time is all is all interrelated to everything. So like that's why we wanted to the Council on Aging Board of Directors as well. We want to move forward in a diligent but quick manner, so we can get our full programming back up and running.
So, Mr. Chairman, that was, if you don't mind, that was my question. Once these positions are filled and they're on board, give them some time to settle in, we're going to open up
Yes.
prime time.
I'd like to thank the caregivers in Dayton who are waiting patiently for prime time to open, that we're a little bit closer to doing so.
It's good to hear. Thank you.
Mr. Mullen, is it appropriate to place both of these into one motion, or must we do them as two separate motions?
No, I think it's appropriate, like it would be appropriate and fine to approve both job descriptions for posting. That would be the Council on Aging Office Manager and the Council on Aging Program Manager for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At
Thank you,
this
Ms.
time,
Collins.
yes, Mr.
What was
Karen?
that? Do you remember how much we budgeted for these two positions?
Not specifically, but the funding for both these positions
Are in the budget?
have been budgeted, yes.
Okay.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to, one, accept the job posting as presented to us this evening for the office manager and program manager,
Job description, Mr. Chairman.
job description,
Sorry.
and to also post them.
Did we say we were going to make them both together, both positions, one motion?
One motion, that's correct.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the job descriptions for the Office Manager, Council on Aging, and the Program Manager, Council on Aging, and that these jobs are to be posted tomorrow. Positions.
Second, that.
Motion has been made and second. Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Motion passes. Next up on the agenda is Police Chief Robert McDonald. He will be speaking this evening on the speed study follow-up. I believe this study was completed with the work of Serpent and the police department. And Mr. McDonald, were there any other organizations or groups involved besides Serpent and
No, just Serpid that we spoke to. I'm just gonna read some things that Serpid advised us on, and then I can tell a little about Forest Street, about what's going on down there. So, this is a follow-up from last Selectmen's meeting that someone had concerns about putting a speed limit sign on Forest Street. So, we spoke to Serpid, and there was a speed study completed on Forest Street and various other town roads back in November of 2019. The average speed on Forest Street for that road was reflected to in a 85 percentile of just under 40 miles an hour. That's what they came up with, the data. You will note that Serpid, who completed the study, said that non-Mass DOT speed limits designated areas in the thickly settled areas have a default speed limit of 30 miles an hour. What that means, I can't answer that. I have no idea what that line means. We recently had a follow-up discussion with Serpent about this. This does not mean that we can go around posting street signs, speed limit signs. It means that we can enforce the speed limit on that road. This is referred to as a statutory speed limit. In order to have a speed limit with a signage, the town would need to request an additional speed limit review with the Mass DOT. We were told, however, Mass DOT usually places Mass DOT places an 85 percentile average speed to inform speed limit. And like I said, at that time, 2019, the average speed was 40 miles an hour. So the board, we may want to look at making a speed limit review request from Mass DOT on the roads listed in Serpent's study based on their speed. What I mean by that study base, back when they did this in 2019, there were different areas that the town had a data done. Center and Cedar Street, Horton Street, Forest Street, Wellington Street, there was a lot of roads that they did data on. It's up on the screen there that, Mr. Mullen has up there. So, I mean, there's a lot of information here, but, I know we're looking at Forest Street. Serpent will be following up with us to share process and requesting a speed limit review from the Mass DOT. Like I said, we just put that new radar sign that we received in a grant. It was put up today by Superintendent Ferry's men. That's there now. What that does is, it has a chart, and we can determine whatever date we want to see what the speed limit was on that road. So that was just put up there today. This month is we have a traffic grant, and this month is for speeding. 9017, writing people up for speeding. Sergeant Nichols was out there the other day, and he was down on Forest Street, Spring Street, in that area quite a bit. And he wrote up a few citations, stopped some people, gave warnings. So we're doing that the best we can. As far as this Serpent stuff, I mean, I think we should look into maybe doing it again. Because I know the person, the resident down there was questioning the speed limit sign, like I said, the police department can't put signs in the ground. We don't have a right to do that. We enforce the speeds. As far as whoever signs, town has to do it. We have to do a study of how it works, and they do it, and then we enforce the traffic. But we don't have the authority to just put signs everywhere we want.
How would we go about requesting the assistance of DOT to do speed studies? Do they come in for
I
specific
know
streets?
Administrator Mullen was with me when we had that conversation with him, so maybe, like, you can fill him in a little bit what they...
So yeah, like in talking with SERPED, that is a question that we had as well as SERPED. They do, the Mass Department of Transportation, they do have a process for that. So SERPED is going to work with us to look into that process, so we can determine so we can determine as a community if we want to do a speed review on Forest Street. And if there's any other streets that we also, based on the data from Center Street, from Cedar Street, from Horton Street, and the other roads as well, to see if at the same time we do decide to request a speed review on Forest Street, that we have the ability to entertain and deal with and request those reviews on the other streets as well. One of the things I just want to mention, as the chief mentioned as well, based on the 85th percentile average speed limit of just under 40 miles an hour that was actually tracked on Forest Street, we were told by SERPED that is what Mass DOT would look at, and that's what they would place a real emphasis of importance on. If the town asked for a speed review for Forest Street, and DOT looked at the average 85th percentile speed, there could be a good chance that the recommended speed limit that comes back from Mass DOT would be 40 miles an hour. So then there begs the question, for the residents of Forest Street and also for our town, would 40 miles an hour be right? And fit the neighborhood, or would some residents, especially in the area, view it, actually is too high? So it could be a double-edged sword. So I mean, right? So right now, in terms of enforcement, we can enforce for 30. you're based on, based, based on the statutory, based on the statutory speed limit of a thickly settled area of 30 miles an hour. But if we ask for a review, and DOT looks at the average 85th percentile speed limit of 40 miles an hour, then there could be the likelihood that the only option we would have to enforce, is actually at the 40 miles an hour, rather than at the 30 that we currently enforce at now. So as I mentioned, it kind of is a double-edged sword.
Could be worse.
Yes.
Yes, it could be.
Yes.
Okay. What? There were two issues that my phone rings a lot about. One of them is concerns about the tax rate, and that's no surprise to any of us sitting in this room. And the other one has been, by far, speeding. When we talk about concerns about a DOT study that has the potential of increasing the speed limit in areas that we feel are reasonable and prudent, are there any areas or any on this list that I have in front of me that we really would want to have DOT take a look at, that the speed limit might be in the 40 range, that we know they're not going to increase it, but they might decrease it, and be worth our time and effort to definitely show the public that we are making attempts to control speeding in this town. You know, we say we're gonna do it, but the complaints still keep happening. We had a discussion a year ago about possibility, and it was just thrown out there as an idea. It wasn't something, it's not a threat, we're not heading down that road. Quotas, and nobody wanted quotas. Nobody wants quotas. I understand that, I respect that, but we need to also address the speeding that's going on in the town. And if DOT could help us, and, you know, if you have a zone like Forest Street that you're concerned that DOT may increase it, don't ask them to do a study on it. But if there's certainly areas that you question whether or not the speed limit should be lowered, like it lowered, could we ask DOT to help us with that?
So yeah, that is a really good point, Chairman Hull, because because if you look at the spreadsheet on the screen, actually, like Forest Street has the lowest average. Forest Street has the lowest average miles an hour. Then if you look up at Horton Street at Main Street, where the combined speed is 48 miles an hour. I think that's when the chief mentioned that we might actually want to, if we're gonna make a request, actually have like a number of areas in a request, where we could actually, where there could be a better chance, I think of lowering those limits. Because if you look at Portland Street, if you look at Main Street, those are some pretty high numbers.
Regarding Main Street, and I'm not saying this because of recent developments or because of the fact that I live on that street. I'm saying that because we have a dangerous intersection that 20 years ago or more, when Gene Nelson was a member of the Board of Selectmen, he tried many ways and spoke and advocated to state and local officials about something being done on the intersection of Main and Elm Street. And I plan on continuing the efforts of Gene Nelson, because there have been many accidents there, many bad accidents there.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up, and maybe we should look into that intersection, that's another one that should be done. And I know I know it's a state highway, and I know, Main Street, but Main Street in county, Mrs. Goulart, who's here, has tried so many times to try to get a light there, and we don't get it. So she has been we worked on that for a long time. And that's another intersection, I know it's a state highway, but that's another, a dangerous intersection that we have. So that's another, and you talk about speed signs though, but William Street, if you look at William Street from Taunton Line to Shopsot Road, and I'm sure everybody travels that road, that there's so many speed limit signs in all the different speeds.
50 someplace.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different speed limit signs that change. So that's another road that we should look into, that maybe something should be done, because, I don't know, I mean, one side is 45, the other side is 50, and the other side's down the road, it's 35. So it just changes varies all the time. And that's been like that for years, and Superintendent Ferry can tell you that, but that's been like that. So that's another road that maybe we should look into. You know, I mean, I get it. Selectman Hull, you're right, that people are complaining about speeding, but, you know, it's all over the place. And we do, whatever we have, we do the best we can to prevent it. And, you know, you're not gonna do it all the time, but we try to do it the best we can. And I understand people's concerns, I get that, but it's just, we do whatever we can do and prevent it, you know? And I'll tell you, there's some people that complain about speeding vehicles on their street, and the officer, 2 months later, stopped that person who was complaining for speeding on that street. They're stopping somebody, that they live on that road, but they were complaining about speeding cars, so, all right, I get that, but,
There are many strategies for dealing with speeding, and we look at them various and certain responsibilities and certain expertise lies with certain groups. But in the issue of DOT study, would it be appropriate for Mr. Mullen to sit down with Mr. Mcdonald and maybe the LT, Cronin and maybe Mr. Ferry, and come up with a few that you would recommend to the Board of Selectmen that we pursue with DOT?
absolutely, yes,
And that would be prudent
yeah.
path forward, and then we can come back with, I mean, yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 streets that were, yeah, 10 streets that were studied. Like, I think it might be, this is just my gut, but, you know, you're probably a little unrealistic to ask me, to ask Mass DOT to do a review on all of them. But if we could really prioritize based on the list and the information, I can come back, you know, by, you know, I say mid to late July, with a recommendation. That would probably be, yeah, no, I think that would be prudent.
Excellent.
What about the signs that are posted on utility poles? Are those illegal, or?
Yeah,
I thought there was a restriction that you told me
You're
one
not
time, they
supposed
had to be 8 feet off the ground on an independent sign.
They're not supposed to be on telephone poles, and I believe, I don't know, Tommy, you can ask that, but I don't know if there's many on a
I don't know if
telephone
there's a
pole
lot, but
anymore,
there
is
are
there?
some.
They're basically on a post.
Correct, the regulatory sign is black and white.
Yeah.
and the phone.
Yeah, they're not supposed to do,
Right.
on a telephone pole, no.
So a study would tell us something like that.
Well, I think on those particular instances, the posting of signs, Mr. Ferry, that falls under your jurisdiction, right? Maintaining them?
Maintaining them, it's under your direction.
It's under our direction. So if people had concerns, or if Verizon or Comcast had concerns that a sign, speeding sign was placed on a pole, they should direct it to our office and we would forward it to you? Yes. I think more than likely what happened with those that are on poles, they probably had their own individual pole, it fell down and somebody put it up on a telephone pole or,
We changed all the speed signs in recent past, and we reflected back, and that's when they were all removed from the poles. The ones that are on the poles, we didn't put put up. Some residents chose upon themselves to acquire signs and put them up. And like Middle Street's got a 5-mile-an-hour sign. What is that?
Now, with that being said, you also have the right to take those down, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. So going forward, if anyone has a concern about a speeding sign being legal, then they should contact the Board of Selectmen's office, and we will review it and forward it to Mr. Ferry. Would that be appropriate?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Karen, any further questions?
Yes, this has been brought up in the past, and I remember when this report came out, we had asked for having a report from either you or someone else from the police department at a Board of Selectmen meetings as to how many people have been stopped, like the previous couple of weeks. I wonder if we can get back to that.
Sure,
I'd be interested, and the public would be interested to see how many tickets have actually been given.
yes,
And-
we can do that, I'll get that
And what
for
the
you.
speeds were when they
Yeah.
were
What
ticketed.
we'll do is, if it's okay, when we sit with town administrator and lieutenant, we'll talk about that, and then we'll put that together. And then when we come back, maybe in another month, if that's okay, we'll
Yeah.
bring that to you.
Because the key is enforcement.
Yeah,
Of the
right.
speeds that
Exactly.
we have now, is
Yep.
enforcement. And I understand you're limited, the number of people you
Oh.
can put out there, I get that, but enforcement's the key.
Yep. So I know we're talking about forestry or streets, but I have some data from Pleasant Street. I don't know if you want to hear what's been down there, if not.
No.
So, and that sign was up from June 2nd to June 5th. There was 5,087 cars traveled on Pleasant Street. The 80% were below the speed limit of vehicles. Because we have like a pie here and it's a chart and it tells us, so 80% was lower than the speed limit, what it is there. There was about 17% was above average, moderate average, and then there was 2.6 above that speed limit. So it seems like they're not traveling as fast as they used to down there, but it seems like maybe it's slowing it down a little bit. So we're still gonna look into that and monitor it and down there, and
You said 8,500?
5,087 cars traveled that road between June 2nd and June 5th.
Thank you.
So we'll still look into that one. Like I said, this month is all, the grant is for stopping people for speeding, so guys will be out there. That's extra patrols, not just guys on this shift, but it's the extra patrols that are done there. I don't know if you want me to talk a little bit about incidents that took place at the high school. I don't know if you want to hear that, or want to leave that out,
Well, no.
I can bring it up?
No. Since you said it publicly, please do. I will make a comment afterwards. I have received a number of calls today in regards to that, but go ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna read a press release that we gave out after this took place at the high school. What took place today, and then we had something yesterday too. So I'm just gonna read off the press release. Myself and Rehoboth Police Chief James Trombetta, in conjunction with Dayton Rehoboth Regional District Superintendent Dr. Azar, reported that the Dayton Rehoboth Police Departments are jointly investigating after threatening graffiti and live bullets found in a bathroom at the Dayton Rehoboth High School. At this time, police do not believe this was a specific, credible threat or danger to the community. At approximately 9:30 a.m., Dayton and Rehoboth Police responded to the Dayton Rehoboth High School after receiving a report that 2 live rounds of ammunition had been found by a student inside the boys' lavatory. The student reported the ammunition to the school administration. School officials immediately notified the Dayton and the Rehoboth Police Department, and a joint investigation was launched. The school was placed in lockdown, and mutual aid K-9 units from Rehoboth, Dartmouth, Fall River, Providence Police Departments responded to the scene, along with K-9 unit from Bristol County Sheriff's Office. No other suspicious items were found within the school during the K-9 search of the building. The lockdown was lifted approximately 12:30. Then, approximately 2 minutes after lockdown was lifted, a faulty smoke detector sounded off the fire alarm, and all the students were evacuated from the building. A police presence was with the students outside the building at all until students and staff were allowed to safely return to inside the building. This incident follows a report of threatening graffiti that was found inside the same bathroom yesterday at the high school. The school was placed in a lockdown yesterday out of caution. A police response to scene investigated. However, the threat yesterday was not credible. Both incidents are actively being investigated by Dayton and Rehoboth Police and determine if the accident was related. The two were related. The safety of our school students is our top priority right now, and we would like to remind that we take all threats such as these seriously, as they are huge disruptions to our school, and will pursue this until charges are filed. So that was today, and that was yesterday.
Chief Mcdonald, thank you. Today I did receive a number of calls from some officials in Rehoboth and parents in Dayton. Been an educator for over 30 years and a principal of a school, and served on the Dayton Rehoboth School Committee. And I remember 20 years ago that when the principal was getting ready to retire and the school year was coming to the close, that we had similar issues. Talking to Bill Rooney over in Attleboro High School last week as they were getting ready towards the close of their school, and that knowing that their principal, Bill Rooney, is leaving their school, they had disruptive behavior at the school. I want the public to hear that the SRO that's working in that school is doing an excellent job and is committed to be there full-time. Police of both Dayton and Rehoboth have worked very closely with the administration of that school. I would urge the public to allow Dr. Azar, as the educational leader of the district, to do his job, to work with the police and the administrators and the teachers to conclude the school year. I want to assure the public that that high school is not out of control, that things will transition smoothly to a conclusion. But I think the public needs to have faith and confidence in the leaders, both in the police and the educational leaders of the district, to conduct the educational process till the conclusion of the school year. Thank you.
We will have not extra coverage, but we will be checking the schools in that area for the next 2 days. The graduation is Saturday afternoon. We'll make sure that we have guys up there and everything's safe.
I mean, you have said that you have not had any credible threats.
No,
Social media is being monitored, I would imagine,
it is.
so that would be a telltale if something we should be concerned about.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Public input. Mr. O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ron O'Connor, 594 School Street, Chair of the Dayton Public Library Board of Trustees. I'm pleased to be here this evening to thank the board for your support for the Dayton Public Library project that the annual town meeting approved on Monday evening. I've learned many lessons in my 20-plus years working on behalf of the library to improve the library in Dayton, whether through new building or through the plan that we are now moving forward with. And one of those is to have support from the leadership of the town. So I'm grateful for that leadership because that's one of the primary ingredients. Another ingredient that we didn't have many years ago was a town administrator. And so I thank Town Administrator Mullen for his leadership. And I'm understating it to say that he helped to put the pieces together. I know it's tireless work, but he embraced the commitment to a new library for the town of Dayton that his predecessor, Mallory Aronstein, worked with us on. So I'm pleased and thankful, Town Administrator, for your support. And you have my commitment going forward to bring this project to conclusion for the benefit of the residents of Dayton. And that includes, as I was thinking of coming here this evening, that I know that there are grants to be written, and I can help with that, so we can lessen the burden on the taxpayers and find other sources of funding to improve things. I also want to thank Building Commissioner Aguirre, who provided his wisdom and expertise on all matters building and looking at the Smith Memorial Hall and saying this was workable and doable. I thank the voters who came out at the annual town meeting in support of the library project. And as I look back to the 2010 vote for the new library that failed, we had 1,000 residents who voted for that. And so I thank them for their patience over the past decade plus to move things forward. One of my profoundest disappointments in the library as a trustee for, well, since 2008, is that the building's not accessible to persons with disabilities. And I'm pleased that this new project will solve that problem, among others, including safety, et cetera. Last but certainly not least, I thank the staff of the Dayton Public Library for their perseverance over the many years, but particularly during the pandemic, to bring services, the high quality services that they're capable of delivering, and their passion and commitment for doing so. And this is a reward for them to provide them with a newer, better location that will allow them to even better serve the residents of Dayton. My final comment, I'm not working from notes here, just from my heart. And one thing that comes to mind is, for many years, the Dayton Public Library has housed the children's services in the basement at the Carnegie Building and now in Town Hall. And what a great thing it is that the library, when it moves to Main Street, will have the children's services on the stage, a position of prominence for children of this community. And the teen services, which have been, and young adult services, which have been non-existent, other than through the passion and commitment of the staff, will also have a position of prominence in this new building. So much more to be said later on, but I am just, as you can tell, overjoyed after 20 years of working first as a member of the building committee and then as a member of the trustees for since 2008, that we are finally giving the residents of Dayton the library building that they deserve. And I'm just so pleased that I think the Smith Memorial Hall is going to work out very well. Andrew Carnegie would be proud that we have also respecting his gift back in 1910, and we will retain that building for other purposes for the town. And also be, I'm sure, pleased that a building that existed before then in the Smith Memorial Hall will be preserved and used in a very important way. So, again, could say much more, but onward, and thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chico, do you have anything to add?
No, I just want to thank the public, as you mentioned, that came out to the meeting and supported the library. It's been, you worked hard on this over the years, and it's been a desire of mine to get a new library. We're getting a new old library in a sense, but I'm glad that we're restoring a historic building. We're keeping a historic building in town that's going to be maintained properly. It has, as you've seen, Memorial Hall, Smith Memorial Hall has great advantages for a library. As you mentioned, the kids area, and it's going to be a craft room. It's going to be so much that I think once it's open, the town is really going to appreciate. So I'm proud of the residents that came out to the meeting this past Monday, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you, Ron, for your work.
Mr. Karen?
I think it's a great alternative, and a lot of people did a lot of hard work, and you should be very proud of them. But I think it's the best option for what we have.
Mr. O'Connor, thank you for all that you have done.
Very welcome.
You've been kind of an unsung hero of that group. 20 years, many frustrations, but you have stuck with it, and you have continued to see it to its hopeful, successful completion. To the voters that attended town meeting and supported that project, I want to also thank them as well.
So, thank you. Thank you all. My final thought, I didn't want to forget this, is I've always kept in mind throughout the pandemic that the dark clouds of the pandemic will have a silver lining, or two or three or several, and this is certainly one of the silver linings of the dark cloud of the pandemic, that we closed the library for the pandemic, and the fire chief and building commissioner deemed it just can't reopen. We found a temporary solution, and now we found a permanent solution. So again, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Mrs. Goulart.
Nancy Goulart, 631 Great Terrace. I just want to follow up on something that Chief Mcdonald said relative to our efforts at Main and County Street. I think it was somewhere between 2007 and 10 that I first got involved with that. The last time we submitted information, Mr. Ferry and I did extensive work. There was a study, a traffic study at that area. We decided that we really had to describe the problems there, in addition to accidents, and we had some fatalities. Mr. Ferry took the time to actually do measurements, the distance from the library to that intersection, and an estimated foot traffic, people going up Main Street. The proximity of the fire station to that intersection. So we had all of this data. One of the things that I noticed was the speed limit through there is 40 miles an hour. And yet, going south, there was a broken line. You could pass going through that intersection. So in the files here, there should be a substantial file. We described the things that were real concerns to us. We didn't get the light. I can tell you that we would have even settled for the kind of light that's outside of the Somerset fire station on 138, meaning when those trucks pull out, they trip the lights and stop the traffic. We worked with the fire chief at the time, and we wanted the light to have that monitor that recognizes emergency vehicles. And if we got a stoplight, it would have stopped it. But then we says, we didn't make out there. We asked for the kind of lights, again, outside of the Somerset Fire Department. Well, I realize our fire station isn't on the highway, but I think it's close enough to consider that. So we didn't get that either. We did get the road painted a little differently, so you can't pass going through the intersection, hopefully. There were a number of utility poles that blocked the vision if you were on Main Street trying to look north. So we did get utilities moved, and that may have been not only DOT, but I think, Mr. Ferry, utility companies we had to deal with about those. We did get them to provide no parking signs across that intersection where the little corner is there, where that little restaurant is. Because I remember the response was, we'll give you the signs, but you got to install them, which Mr. Ferry did. So it wasn't a total loss, except the most important thing we wanted to do. We didn't have enough accidents, and it seems to me there was a question about the number of fatalities. I don't know why you have to have fatalities. I would think accidents is enough. But I can tell you, having been around here as long as I have, we went through that with a light at Center Street. And we all know what a nightmare intersection that was. But we finally got it. That was over 50 years, too, like the bridge. But quite frankly, the Main Street thing, I hope it's not going to be 50 years. But I got to tell you that the years are adding up. So whatever's on file here, I'm sure I've got stuff at home, and I'm sure Mr. Ferry does. Thank you. So what I wanted to talk to you about is it's that time of the year again. The PMC Jimmy Fund Ride, August 6th and 7th. It will be coming through Dayton on Saturday, August the 6th. And I don't know if this can be picked up by a camera.
You can attempt, hold it right there.
You want to hold it this way?
Yeah,
So
that'd be best.
what I'm holding up is a pie chart of how the money that was raised last year was allocated for research. Now, last year, as you remember, in 2020, that was sort of a everybody do your own thing because we can't have the ride because of COVID. Last year, 2021, the bike ride raised $64 million, and I'll leave this so you can look at it. This big blue part right here, which was the majority, or the biggest chunk of money, 15.5 million was for pediatric oncology, so that was the focus. Now, obviously, all these other parts of the pie talk about other kinds of oncology and services, but this explains how the money was raised. All of the money raised on PMC, every dollar goes to Dana-Farber. So everything is donated. And again, I want to mention that year after year, my team always says what a great job Dayton does in getting the people through Dayton. And the PMC Jimmy Fund is always in need of volunteers, so if anybody wants to volunteer, lunches at Dayton Rehoboth, that's where most of the riders for the long trip go, so they need people to help out there. The route through Dayton from Dayton Rehoboth is down Horton Street to William Street to Center Street. Obviously, if you can afford to make a monetary donation, it's PMC Jimmy Fund. And if you can't volunteer because you don't have the time or you can't do the financial part, the other thing is they ask that residents stand along the routes and just wave to the riders because it's encouraging for them to see all the support they have from the people along the route. So again, August the 6th, coming through Dayton, and I would just ask that if between now and August, this could be added to your announcements, just to keep it in everyone's.
Please. Leave it with Mr.
Okay.
Mullen's office.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Mr. Galucci.
You sounded like the principal when you said that, Mr. Hear that one?
I just get into it.
I was never in trouble,
Jim and
though. I was a good
Louise.
kid. Okay, Tom Galucci, 2086 Palmer Street. It's nice to see everybody here tonight. On the heels of what Chief Mcdonald was saying, this is in direct reference to the business at the high school over the last couple of days. And, you know, I'm really glad that we have an SRO over there, because that's the only thing that's gonna prevent any real kind of violence. Even if it's not a credible threat, I mean, if something came up, that's the only thing that's gonna prevent a problem. Just prior to this meeting, about an hour or two before, I got a text message from Katie Ferreira-Aubin of the school committee. She represents Rehoboth, and she and Peter Latour wrote a joint letter requesting a special meeting due to the emerging situation regarding the bathroom at the high school and all the events that followed. I'll send a copy of it to you, Mrs. Brady, if you like. And what I wanted to call your attention to was not so much, you know, the threat, because I can't really speak to that. But on the, I guess it's the agreement between the two towns, right? Under special meetings. So my understanding is that there's been some resistance to holding a special meeting. She's requesting a special meeting of the school committee to discuss this, which is their right. What she's been experiencing has been some resistance to that. And so if you look, 2 members of the school committee have written that letter. So a special meeting of the Dayton Rehoboth Regional School Committee may be called by the chairperson of the regional school committee acting alone. Upon written request from 2 members of the regional school committee, a special meeting shall be called. And so far, she's meeting a considerable amount of resistance. So I wonder if you guys can lean on whomever to whatever degree you can. So that was my first and most serious point. Secondly, and it is serious, when we go to pay our excise taxes, we can use either cash or a written check. When we go to the dump, we have to use a check because there was something to do with a bond or something like that. You know, we'd have to hold a criminal bond or something, which those are all at $50. Be that as it may, the last time I checked, this is 2022, and I can pay with this now, you know? or I can pay with a credit card or something like that. Can we please get a point of sale at all these different stations around town? I don't know what the mechanism is for that, but good Lord. Just a point of sale over at the town treasurer's office, a point of sale over at the dump, here, there, and everywhere, wherever we're supposed to write a check. I haven't written a check in 10 years, other than business checks, and even then, sporadically. I pay electronically for everything. And I think 90% of the people in this room do, and, you know, could we do that?
Amen.
Thank you.
As you heard from the Department of Revenue this evening, they too have concerns. And I can promise you, because we have two young, very skilled people that have just joined the
right there, yeah.
finance team,
Yep.
Mr. Reynolds and Jen.
Jen,
Jeanette,
yeah,
by our account.
right,
We are going to move to the 21st century.
cool.
And it's going to happen soon. And it is a number one priority with us as far as the need for improvement.
Beautiful.
That, along with public safety, will be addressed.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
On the
Lastly,
issue of
yeah,
the conflict that Mr. Latour, who is a member of the Dayton contingent
yeah,
on the school committee, and also Katie, who is the Rehoboth member, they have the ability to file a complaint with the Ethics Committee / AG's office. And I am quite confident that the Ethics Committee is monitoring this conversation that we are having currently.
outstanding.
I would encourage, whether it be members of the Ethic Commission who may be listening in, or they contact them ASAP.
You got it. I'll make sure that happens. I'll text her as soon as we get done. Lastly, in regard to my second point, we are still going to have the option to pay in cash, correct? Because there's no reason not to, or to pay with a paper check. I mean, some people still use those. You know, we all stand behind them at the cash register at Hannaford's or whatever.
We have two members of the financial team here. I'm pretty confident that they're hearing Mr. Galucci's concerns, and it'll be
My concern.
addressed.
Thank you.
So like, all these
The
issues are gonna
financial
be looked
team,
at.
So,
Sweet. All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thanks for
Thank you.
hearing me, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore, yes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Y'all know me. Bill Moore, 1835 Smith Street. Just quickly, I'd like to address the speed thing was discussed earlier tonight. I'd like to just ask you guys to make sure that you apply balance. I was up here before when we were talking about Pleasant Street and the special speed zone and such. I will gladly spend a half hour with you guys and talk all about the methodology and such. I don't want to bore you right now. But there are reasons for, what they do. It basically falls under the premise that most people drive at a speed that they feel is appropriate. Most people don't purposely go, I'm gonna go really fast and speed down the road. It's a speed they consider appropriate for whatever road they're going on. So that's why they do this study, and they say at the 85th percentile, that is the appropriate speed limit. The problem is you get people that are on a road, the car's going by their house and they're like, that car's going too fast. And those, I bet, is a lot of the phone calls that you're getting. But that one person is upset, but you've also got a lot of people in this town that we all drive these roads. And as the chief, I thought it was quite humorous, pointed out that even the people that may complain about people driving fast may be the very people that are driving at that very same speed. So I'm not sure if we're talking about people that are driving 70, 80 miles an hour, I think we're all going to agree on that. My subjective opinion is that those speed limits in that report were pretty spot on. That's about the speed I travel, and I think most citizens travel. I don't want to turn this town into a giant speed trap.
Oh, no, I hear you.
That's my point. Balance, you know, the concerns of the people that live there, but also let's not, you know, hammer everybody in town with speeding tickets.
You know, one of the things that happened with the Pleasant Street situation with speed, that there was many opportunities for public input and discourse and compromise, and in the end, a majority of people decided to leave things as they are and not push the 20-mile-an-hour zone or any other impediments down in that area. And I think as we go forward, one of the things that we were talking about tonight was a multi-faceted approach to the speeding problem in town. And some of it will involve enforcement, and some of it may involve some physical limitations, whether it be signs or whatever other recommendations DOT would recommend, whether it be stop lights or caution lights.
I'm not talking about, I'm just specifically talking to the
I think
numbers.
each neighborhood will be unique and have to be handled differently. You know, one street in particular, they have a speeding problem certain times during the year, but then at other times of the year, they don't. So I think it's going to be, we're going to have many discussions about this, and I look forward to Mr. Mullen and the police department working closely together, coming up with some recommendations, and obviously we'll have some input on that. I believe Mr. Karen is also involved with the police committee in regards to negotiations and the like, is that correct?
That's correct.
I was talking to my good friend George Silvers over there in Rehoboth, and one of the things that they do on the Rehoboth Board of Selectmen was wondering if this board would be okay with it, that if you get assigned a committee to, oversee in regards to non-voting membership or actual involvement with contract negotiations, if you would be willing to take a lead and be a representative and working with the police department, reporting back to us or giving input to the police.
Yes.
Mr. Mullen, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things like we did last year too, with the board actually met in, the board actually met like in early July to talk about a goal setting and expectations. I do think this might be one area where we can talk further.
Okay. No, thank you. And obviously you'll be working closely with Mr. Mullen and the police chief, so that then you can report back to us.
Definitely.
Thank you.
So on that, I just want balance, that's all I'm asking. I don't know if it's appropriate to talk now, or if I should talk later, but you have upcoming a transfer request for the Board of Assessors, and
That will be on the agenda at the next meeting, Mr. Mullen, or is that
Yes,
going to
tonight.
be something later on this evening?
So it is on the agenda later in the meeting.
We'll do it during the.
so do you want me to talk later?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Please. Thank you. There, Mr. Gales, do you have anything that you would like to add in public input? Mr. Gale?
I don't have anything specifically. I would just thank everyone who has participated in helping us with the ADA grant. We're near the end of the cycle of completion of most of the projects for the grant, with the exception of the town's website, which will be, I think, amazing for many, many reasons. But I just wanted to thank everyone involved, from the town administrator to Parks and Rec, to Highway, to the building commissioner, to the folks in the Selectmen's office, and mostly the residents who have been very, very supportive of this project. I'm sure the residents in town are seeing many changes slowly but surely take place, from the new walkway at Town Hall, to the walkways at the parks, to the new playground, which was just approved the other night, thanks to the amazing work of our Parks and Rec Commissioner, again, and the town's residents and so forth. So I just wanted to voice all of that and share all of that. This has been a very, very good year for closing out the year for persons with disability in our town and leveraging our resources through grants and through other methods, and I think we should all be very, very proud of that. So I just wanted to just share that and say thank you to everybody who's been involved.
Mr. Gale, thank you. Mr. Reynolds?
Good evening, everybody. Paul Reynolds, 725 Main Street. I just wanted to follow up in regard to the two of the concerns that Mr. Galucci expressed at this meeting. And specifically, the first in regard to whether the Treasurer's Office has any plans to change the way that it processes transactions. Yes, we are currently looking into several software and hardware upgrades that will allow us to streamline operations in several areas. Across everything from payroll, potentially time and attendance, some of our HR functions, but additionally, I have been in contact with several merchant services companies as well, and once I have a variety of competitive quotes and value propositions, I'm going to present those to the financial management team as well to see what we can do to streamline our acceptance of payment. Additionally, in regard to whether we have any plans to change accepting cash, absolutely not. Those banknotes are a legal tender for all debts, public and private, and we will always accept them. I have no worries that cash is ever going to bounce or that the card transaction will ever be disputed. So yes, absolutely, we have every intention to accept cash in perpetuity. Thank you.
Mr. Reynolds, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Unless there is further input, I will ask Mr. Pacheco if you would do the announcements.
Yes, start off with the board committee vacancies. Cable Television Committee needs 1. Cemetery Commission needs 1 member. Commission on Disability needs 3 members. Community Preservation Committee needs 1. Conservation Committee needs 1. Historical Commission needs 1. Land Use Committee needs 1 member. Open Space Committee needs 2. We need a Superintendent of Pest Control. TIF Review Board needs 1 member, and Solid Waste Advisory Committee needs 2 members. Bulky item curbside pickup has begun this week. Started on June 6th, and it's now through June 10th, 2022. Tags may be purchased at the Board of Health office at 1111 Somerset Avenue. Contact the Board of Health to order your tags at 774-872-0943. A separate tag is required for each item to be disposed of. Bulky items is the same schedule as trash pickup, and items must be out no later than 7 a.m. The Dayton's 5th Annual Strawberry Festival will take place on June 18, 2022 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Lions Pavilion, Dayton Town Grounds, 1111 Somerset Avenue. Strawberry shortcakes, craft vendors, live music, and children's activities. I am a member of the Dayton Historical Society. I'm an officer. All of us are volunteers, so I just want to make it clear on that. And I'm also a member of the Dayton Lions Club, and their food bank distribution will be held next at 8 a.m. on Saturday, June 18, 2022 at Town Hall, lower level, 979 Somerset Avenue.
Mr. Chico, thank you. Before we go on to the Town Administrator's report, I do have a question for Mr. Mullen. In regards to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, that new committee that was just recently formed,
Yes.
could you work closely with the Board of Health to establish a posting date, whether those applications will come to the Board of Selectmen's office or the Board of Health, when interviews will be held, and when they will have a timeline for recommendations to come before the Board of Selectmen?
Yep, we will work on that, Mr. Chairman.
This evening, we will be appointing a member of the Board of Selectmen to that committee. They
That
need
makes
to be
perfect
up and
sense.
running,
Very
preferably
soon.
by October. They need to be actually running in November, but
Yeah, I think the sooner the better we can really get to that.
They got a lot of
To move
work to do.
forward, we have a lot of work to do on that.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Mullen?
Yes, I have a few quick updates. Number one, I want to make sure the board and the public were aware that on April 12th of 2022, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Jay Sullivan, he's the associate commissioner for DESI. He sent a letter to Dr. Azar at the Dayton Regional School District, and it was about like a proposal in the town of Rehoboth, to try to separate their K-8, from the DR school district. And my understanding is, there's a potential, for the town of Rehoboth to have an August special town meeting, like in which the proposed warrant article, would be presented to the town of Rehoboth voters. Like, and obviously the town of Dayton is one of two members, as part of a regional agreement. And we do have a regional agreement governing, that governs any potential separation. And the state Department of Elementary and Secondary Education also has its own regulations, that govern the same. I just want to point out the state regulations. They are pretty clear. That it takes all towns in a regional school district to separate. It just doesn't take one. And that, based on the requirements that Mr. Sullivan, he put forth in the letter governed, by the regional school district regulations. He does say that in order for any proposed separation to happen, that each of the towns must submit, to DESE a long-range education plan, to document how it will serve and support, its elementary and middle school populations. It also goes on to state, that the district must provide information to the department, to document how any potential withdrawal, will affect its grade 9 through 12 student populations. And also, as part of the regulations also require that as part of any proposal, which again, there's only one right now, the town of Dayton doesn't have any plans to do anything, but as part of any proposal, the towns also have to state how each new entity will be governed and managed, how it will be funded, how the reconfiguration, and separation will impact students, staff, and parents, how all outstanding obligations to the district will be met, and the fiscal implications on each district. So at this point, the only town that is actually, or the only group that's actually having any type of conversation is a group in the town of Rehoboth. We're not having any. So at the August special town meeting, if any meeting is held in the town of Rehoboth, if anything happens, it really takes two to make any change. And we don't have any plans at this point, to do anything to make any change. I just really want to convey to the residents of Dayton, that the town does have a safeguard in the state regulations. I have reached out to Mr. Sullivan, to set up a call with him, hopefully by the end of the month, so we can confirm all this. And any anxiety, any concerns, any fears that anyone in the town of Dayton has, we can help allay them. I just want to convey that there's been a lot of talk out there, and I just want to provide some factual information, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mullen, thank you very much. I just want to reassure the people of Dayton that this process is a long-term process. Rehoboth will be taking a vote. That is only the beginning of the process. And it states here in bold print that this agreement is subject to the approval of the Commissioner of Elementary and Secondary Education and would not be in effect unless approved by the Commissioner. In addition to receiving input from both Rehoboth and Dayton, the Subcommittee of Education in the Massachusetts House of Representatives will also be weighing in and watching this closely. So, please direct your questions that you may have to Mr. Mullen before the rumor mill starts creating panic with parents. We'll be providing you information as we go on, but we're a long way for any decision being made. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I also wanted to provide an update. About a week and a half ago, we heard back from the State Attorney General's office regarding their decision of an article on Article 5 that was approved by town meeting on November 1st at the town special town meeting on that date. Based on First Amendment issues, the Attorney General's office struck from the bylaw the last phrase that was approved in the approved bylaw. And that text refers to town-owned land into town-maintained facilities. So essentially, what the new bylaw actually applies to, and what we're going to implement it to, is the town hall flagpole. The flagpole out in front of town hall. The flagpole in front of town hall is the flagpole that this bylaw applies to, based on the Attorney General's decision. So the new bylaw will be applied. It will be implemented now that we have heard back from the Attorney General's office. And I just wanted to provide that update to everybody as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just have one other update. As you know, we're trying to pursue all grants for the Pleasant Street Bridge reconstruction. And at the end of last week, we applied for a $2.75 million one-stop portal grant through the Commonwealth Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development. This is the second grant application that we now have in for the project. We have one in seeking funding from the state government, and then we have another grant application seeking funding from the feds as well. So again, we're trying to pursue any funding we can, to keep these improvements and the need to address these issues off of our local tax base. And so we're doing everything we can to do that, Mr. Chairman. So that's all I have on that, but I just wanted to give the board and the public an update.
Mr. Mullen, thank you. Mr. Pacheco, any questions?
Nope.
Mr. Karen?
No,
Selectmen's reports. Mr. Pacheco, do you have?
We have old business first.
Oh, I'm sorry, old business. Mr. Mullen, an update on the Lions Club bocce court?
Yeah, if I can turn this over to Building Commissioner Aguirre.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. Good evening, Dayton. Yes, I'll try and make it brief but concise. A few meetings ago, the Lions Club brought to your attention that they wanted to, at their expense, install a bocce court with the town's assistance. At your request, you asked that Lions work with Mr. Ferry, Superintendent Ferry, and I to go over the details to make sure that it was going to be a fit for the complex and not hinder our future improvement possibilities. So I'm here to report that they propose to put it on the east side of the current pavilion, which would be to the rear of the pavilion. We went over setback requirements. Mr. Gale, ADA Coordinator Gale and I discussed accessibility. The exact location of the bocce court is going to be determined by the accessible route from the existing pavilion to the bocce court, because we want to make sure that we have an accessible walkway. Additionally, I reached out to a town official who had a relationship with the abutting property to make sure the abutter was aware that the pavilion would be expanded to include a bocce court in case they had any concerns, because we do have a 15-foot setback requirement, which isn't very much. That property owner fully supports the bocce court and its installation. So there are no concerns that I can see that would prohibit the Lions Club from moving forward with this project. And I actually think after finding out more about it, I think it'll be a great addition to the complex.
Thank you. Mr. Gale has his hand up. Mr. Gale? Yes.
Actually, my hand just shouldn't have been up, that was a mistake, but, Mr. Aguirre is correct. We have spoken, and, I fully support the plan that's been put in place, and I'm sure with regard to accessibility, for the most part, this is a non-issue, because it should be, any remedies that we have to come up with will be very easy.
Now, Mr. Mullen, my understanding is that the issuing of permits for construction rests with the building commissioner. So do we need to vote on this, or as long as Mr. Aguirre signs off on it, we're good to go?
Because it's on town property, I would recommend a vote from the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, I don't have the authority to issue a permit solely for work done on this property without your permission.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Pacheco, any questions?
No.
Mr. Chair?
Just a minute.
No questions, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Goulart.
You need to vote to accept a gift from the Lions Club of the bocce court and then give him permission to issue whatever permits that are required. They're actually giving the town a gift, even though it's on town land. Like they did when we used to have a tennis court where the town hall is, and also when we allowed them to move the tennis court down to town property. So, they're giving you a gift of a bocce court on town property. So you accept the gift, and then you authorize Mr. Aguirre to issue whatever permits are necessary.
I have a question. It has to do with liability. If we own that bocce court, we are liable for any incidents.
The fact that it's on town property makes it covered under our liability, just like all those courts we have down on town property.
that is correct, you're both correct. Even though the Lions constructed the pavilion, the town of Dayton owns the pavilion.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't
So,
aware of that.
Yes, yes. So, Selectman Goulart is correct. I don't know about the gifting part of it. We do have the chairman of the Lions Club here tonight. But I can assure you that if the bocce court is built, we say thank you. It does belong to the town of Dayton, and we do assume the liability, yes.
I have a question for Mr. Pacheco as we go forward. Because you are a member of the Lions Club, will you have to excuse
I
yourself?
have to recuse myself.
Based on what Mrs. Goulart has said,
Yep.
Mr. Karen, would you be willing to make a motion that we accept as a gift from the Lions Club, the bocce court?
Okay, I make that motion.
I will second the motion. Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. My second motion, it'll be necessary that, would you make a motion to authorize Building Commissioner Aguirre to issue a permit for the construction of the bocce
Make
court?
that motion.
I will second that motion.
Aye.
Mr. Karen? Chairman Hull is an aye. The town of Dayton now own a bocce court.
Yep. Who would have known?
Well, I will say this, based on my experiences this weekend with the Cow Chip Festival, the people of the town of Dayton owe a tremendous debt of gratitude and thank you to all the members of the Lions Club. Mr. Ferry, Mr. Pacheco, thank you. You put in tremendous amount of hours of volunteer time, raising money, doing activities for the town of Dayton. And to all your other members, please extend our thank you to them.
If I could just comment on that, at least I wasn't the person with those flags that had to put in the cow chip.
Well, you know,
We
many
appreciate
years
it, though.
ago, I worked for Rehoboth Fair, and I so miss that. Working in an environment where farming and agriculture is still, and Dayton, I hope that Cow Chip Festival lasts forever.
So is that understood and assumed, that the chairman assumes that responsibility?
Well, usually it's the rookie, but
But he played hooky, so.
yes, so I would be glad to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mullen, an update on the Massasoit Road Homeowner Association gate request.
Yeah, so the Massasoit Road issue, it's been a very quick week and a half, but we've been working to bring together, the HOA representatives, the water district, fire, police, highway, and other stakeholders. We're looking to set up an internal meeting, sometime over the next week, with the water district as well. So we will probably likely, hopefully have a more further update. I'm gonna update how that meeting goes on the June 22nd meeting, Mr. Chairman.
I will be meeting with the Dayton Water District tomorrow evening as part of their Dayton Water District meeting, and we will discuss it as well.
Great.
No, thank you.
And that's all I have on that.
Thank you. Selectmen's reports?
I have no reports.
Mr. Karen?
I have none, thank you.
Actually, I have two quick updates. One in regards to the Water District. At their annual town meeting held last week, attended by two non-department or government official members, they voted to spend $6 million for the purchase of the Somerset well on Brook Street. That will now go to the voters of Somerset for their approval. And I will update you once I know how that vote goes down from Somerset. I don't think it should be a problem. I doubt Somerset will turn away $6 million. One of the reasons why I mentioned that well is that the end of the moratorium is coming. It is at least a year away, but I will caution our town leaders. We need to start thinking about the impact that that is going to have on building and development in this town. And let's not wait until the moratorium ends or the developers are banging the door at Mr. Aguirre's office for permits. I know at least one developer that has been every meeting, or he calls me several times a month and says, when's the moratorium going to end? Because I want to start building. Where are we at in regards to the impact fee? Is that ready? That would have to be a bylaw, correct?
It would.
Mr. Aguirre, if you...
There's a chance it could be, there's a chance it could be ready for the fall town meeting, but right now I'm working closely with council and the water department in the nomenclature that's gonna be in the extended moratorium, because there are some problems that we're seeing with the way the current language was. And I think the 12 months is a good barometer, but it may go past that. So we wanna make sure that the extension on the moratorium is written properly. So, so that being said, if the economy holds out, we may see a spike in development as soon as the next 6 to 8 months. So I would like to try to get the impact fee ready for the fall town meeting. We weren't able to do it for the annual, but with a little bit of luck, you know, there's a lot of building projects going on, which I'm grateful to be a part of, but we just got a lot of balls in the air, so, but we're trying.
Yes, no, thank you.
Thank you. And I will be coming in front of this board probably through the month of August to make some fee adjustments to my fee schedule. Just some fine tuning. I'm not going to do a complete revamp, but that will help a little bit with some revenues, so.
Excellent, thank you. The second item on the Selectmen's report, and the chairman of the Dayton Industrial Development Commission is here, and he's more than welcome to join in at any time, Dan, that Mr. Higgins feels necessary. At our last meeting, we discussed two developers. One currently has a project, a $30 million project going on the waterfront of Wareham. And that developer happens to be a good friend of our town treasurer. And we are hoping within the next month to have that individual come and take a look at the river and let the Dayton Industrial Development Commission know what potential growth can happen along the river. Last meeting, we also had a developer come in from Rhode Island who has expressed an interest in doing some development, actual development along the Taunton River in the town of Dayton. We're very excited about that. We've instructed that individual to reach out to the planning board. One of the things that we need to do in this town is to bring in some industry. And we saw a couple weeks ago when One Connection handed us a check for $25,000, what industry can do and how it can help the town if it's planned well. And one of the things that the Dayton Industrial Development Commission is going to be actively doing is reaching out to developers to help try to bring industry into the town. We're very excited about that. Mr. Higgins, yes?
I would just have that the latter point you made about the existing Rhode Island developer, that process has already begun with a joint meeting between them, Mr. Aguirre, Mr. Mullen, myself, and Jerry Easter, the office manager.
Awesome.
So those discussions have already started.
Excellent, excellent. I'm really excited about that. A former selectman, it had always been his dream to see something happening along the river. And I think we're going to be able to do something. I think Pat Menge's goal and dream that he wasn't able to accomplish in his time that he was on the board, I think the torch has been passed and we're going to continue that. And I'm pretty excited about, especially when that developer came in the other night. So, thank you. Under new business, review, discuss, and act proposal fiscal year 2022, end of the year interdepartmental transfers. Mr. Mullen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. While I'm pulling everything up, we do based on state statute, I have the ability between May and July 15th to make any interdepartmental transfers with approval from the Selectmen and the FinCom. And this year, we're only anticipating a handful of proposed transfers. I will go through them as they are described in the agenda. The first one is related to the education account. In the amount, we do need a transfer in the education account in the amount of $4,559.16. And this is specifically in the Bristol County Agricultural High School assessment line. And when we projected and set the FY22 budget, we projected it based on a lower than anticipated interest rate that Bristol County actually achieved and has been applied to the debt assessment. So based on the interest rate being higher than what was initially projected, we have to close out approximately $4,500 gap there. And we do have these savings in our workers compensation line this year, Mr. Chairman. So I am proposing that transfer as the first.
So it'll be coming from workman's comp to an education account? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Yep.
Mr. Chico, any questions?
No.
Mr. Karen, any questions? I will entertain a motion to transfer from workman's compensation the sum of $4,559.16 to the education account 010-300-000070-5691. Do I have a motion to accept?
I so move.
This motion is made in second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Next is the library.
Yes, the library in their personnel expenses has a deficit of $1,700 in the page line item. And this is due to the challenges that the library has faced in staffing the two library locations this year. And they went and the two library areas weren't anticipated when the FY22 budget was set, and so they're proposing a transfer from their expense budget into their personnel budget to close the gap.
So it's going to go, it's more of a line transfer rather than from one department to another.
Yeah, like from the library expense line into their personnel line, but they still need a transfer to do that, and the approval for that.
So it's going to go from professional technical to library page.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pacheco, any questions?
Nope.
Mr. Karen, any questions?
No, sir.
I will entertain a motion to transfer the sum of $1,700 from the library's professional and technical account to the library page account number 010-612-0000-50-5107.
I'll make a motion that we transfer from the library's professional technical account $1,000. That account number is...
$1,700.
No, from the professional technical, it's $1,000. 010-610-0000-70-5300. And from the travel account, $600. That account number is 010-0-610-0000-70-5710. And from the dues account, $100 for a total of $1,700, and that account number is 010-0-610-0000-70-5730, and transfer that to the library page account, a total of $1,700, to account number 010-0-610-0000-50-5107.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Motion made in second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Next, the town clerks.
we have two proposed transfers from the town clerk. One is in the town clerk budget itself in the amount of $825, a deficit in the professional technical expense line. And this explanation by the town clerk was provides that the general operation of the department is over budget by approximately $825, and he has an agreement with the planning board that from their professional and technical line that they have approved an $825 transfer to close that gap, Mr. Chairman.
So they're looking for a transfer of $486.
No, $825 for the in the town clerk 161 budget.
Next speech.
Okay, are there any questions?
Nope.
Mr. Karen?
No.
I will at this time accept a motion to transfer from the planning board of $825 professional and technical to the town clerk, professional technical, account number 010-0-1161-0000-70 is that 530?
Yes.
5300.
Is that account number 010-0-161, or is it 1161?
161.
161, okay. I so move.
Second.
Motion made and second. Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Next on the agenda is the,
Oh, yes.
I'm
Yeah, the town
following
clerk
your
one.
agenda. The next is the assessors?
We
There are no-
we actually have a second transfer request from the town clerk.
Okay, thank you.
This is in Department 162, Town Clerk Elections. And there is a $486 gap that the town clerk is seeking to close due to an invoice for a mass mailer. Which actually was required by law to send out, and so he has a gap of $486 there. He's proposing to close out with $486 from the town accountant's professional and technical line.
Are there any questions?
Nope. Nope.
I will entertain a motion to transfer from the town accountant $486 from professional technical to the town clerk elections, professional technical, count number 010-0-162-0000-70-5300.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made and second. Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Next will be the assessors.
Yes, we do have the, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And we do have the principal assessor here with us this evening, Mr. Chairman. So Stephanie, if you want to present this, if that's okay. Well,
I think it'd be appropriate for the chairman to present, and then we'll take
yeah, the department head, yes.
on.
Hello, I am here tonight asking for a year-end transfer for the assessor's office in the amount of $7,714.45. Do you want me to go over from the reason or where it's coming from, all of it?
Yeah. Yes, start with the explanation of the unbudgeted separation and then go to where, the proposed transfer would come from.
Okay, so the reason for the transfer is the unbudgeted retirement separation and transitional, expenses that we incurred. So we are looking from the street cleaning, stormwater, the salary, the full-time salary, and having that put into the salary for the chairman and the salary for the members, split up between the two. $6,622.04 into the chairman's salary, and $1,092.41 into the member's salary.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board?
No.
Yes.
Just a minute. Mr. Karen?
How could there have been such an error for $7,700 for both departments? Why does the street cleaning stormwater have $7,700 extra? And how could the library, the assessors department make such an error and not have enough money budgeted? That's a lot of money.
Well, I can just explain.
Sure.
For that. So the previous assessor retired. There was vacation time that she was entitled to. So it wasn't budgeted. So that is why we're at this deficit. It was money she was entitled to get.
And if I could,
Correct?
if I can just add to that, it was my understanding, there was a question whether or not she was entitled to it. That's why I think it wasn't budgeted, but she was entitled to it. So, that's how.
Correct, so it,
She was.
she was entitled to it,
Yeah.
it was not budgeted, and it was 20 years or whatever the time
Yeah.
frame was of this payment. So that is why we are at the deficit that we are at. And I think everyone has known, we've kind of followed this
Yeah.
for a while now. Any other questions?
No, but,
No.
Mr. Karen, do you have?
No, I'm all set.
Mr. Moore?
Hi there, Bill Moore, 1835 Smith Street, member, Board of Assessors. I wanted to speak about this particular transfer request because I know that this particular budget has been very contentious over the past year. There's been a lot of arguments about it. And what I want to say is that this amount of money, is that the problems that we had and the issues that have been argued over, they're in the past. This money is now, the money is missing. There's nothing we're going to be able to do about it. At this point, the only thing we need to do, if we don't fund this money, we can't pay the assessor. So it is absolutely critical that you approve this, however you may feel about where it came from or how it, got spent. We need this transfer. It's absolutely critical. We just simply can't do it. We'd end up in big trouble if we, didn't pay our employees. So I just wanted to, if you guys have any other questions, I'm more than willing to ask, but I just want to say that I'm fully in support of this transfer.
Mr. Moore, thank you very much. Unless we have any further questions, we will entertain a motion to transfer from street cleaning stormwater, $7,714.45 to the assessors department for the salary of the chairman, 010-0-141-000-50-5101, the amount of $6,622.04, and salary for members, count number 010-0-141-0000-50-5102, the amount of $1,092.41, for a total of $7,714.45.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made and second.
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Motion passes. Town reports.
The last one, Mr. Chairman, is in the town report line item. This was due is a $349.08 transfer proposal. This is due to the cost of paper rising significantly in FY22. Again, the annual town report this year was 250 pages, which was higher than previous years. And we pay for the page, and we pay by the page. I'm sorry. So this would come from the town council line in the amount of $349.08.
Any questions? No. I will entertain a motion to transfer from town council $349.08 to town reports, professional technical account number 010-000-70-5300, the sum of $349.08.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next,
and members of the
thank you,
board.
Mr. Mullen. Review, discuss, and act Winter Recovery Assistance Program funding.
Yes, so the state, I believe about a month and a half ago, they approved funding through what they have termed the Winter Recovery Assistance Program. That based on the Chapter 90 formula, they have allocated additional funding to every city and town in the Commonwealth. So I believe under our formula, our Chapter 90 inventory of roads, we have the ability to receive an additional approximately $250,000, Mr. Ferry. I think Mr.
He
Ferry
stepped
might have
out.
left. Okay.
Just left, you just left.
Jeez. So, but in order for the town to accept the approximately $250,000 in additional Chapter 90 funding, the town needs to approve through the typical standard contract form, just the approval of the funding. So then the funding can be applied to the town's Chapter 90 funding, for the current fiscal year, and we would have until June 30th of 2023 to expend the funds.
Mr. Mullen, where specifically, or would you be able to tell us where it was specifically going to be spent?
So the highway department has been working specifically in the Lincoln Avenue Village area for accessibility improvements that are coming in addition to the $118,000 grant that the town received last year from the Shared Streets and Spaces grant programming, and the highway superintendent has been working to expand the scope of that, and so this funding will help him complete all the improvements in that area.
Mr. Mullen, thank you very much.
No problem.
So we will need to take a vote to approve this?
Yes, and authorize the town administrator to execute the contract on the Board of Selectmen's behalf.
I will entertain a motion to appoint Town Administrator Mullen to enter into an agreement for the Winter Recovery Assistance Program funding contract.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made and second. Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Next item, the Development and Industrial Committee request for a Facebook and LinkedIn page. Mr. Mr. Mullen, we have a request from Mr. Higgins. Mr. Higgins, could you come up, please?
Higgins, 400 Lincoln Avenue, Chairman of the Dayton Industrial Development Commission. So we are requesting a presence on both Facebook and LinkedIn for our committee. Both of them would primarily be to just keep the public, and particularly on the LinkedIn side, potential business investors up to date on our activities in town, a way to solicit for businesses. We also have 2 pending surveys that are in the works. One for town residents that we're working with Serpide to develop, which will probably be coming out sometime later in the summer. And one that we're working with the Taunton Area Chamber of Commerce to develop, which will be coming out in the same time frame as our planned September business networking event that the Area Chamber of Commerce is going to be hosting with us at Bristol Aggie sometime in September. So both of them would be used, primarily Facebook, for the 2 surveys to gauge the public's appetite for types of businesses, locations of businesses, levels of development, and then also for a business community, what exactly they are interested in terms of to facilitate, their attraction to Dayton, their interactions with town government, that sort of thing.
Thank you. Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
It is my understanding that there is going to be a training because of the upgrade of the webpage?
Yes.
Would that training be appropriate for Mr. Higgins and/or his webmaster?
Yes. So I'm sorry, have you been invited to the training yet?
No.
I will make sure we
Okay.
do that tonight.
Okay,
I apologize.
no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to grant the request of the Dayton Development and Industrial Committee for a Facebook and LinkedIn page.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made and second, discussion?
I do have a question. I didn't realize we had a Lincoln account in town.
So I don't have the administrative privileges to that, but based on the vote, I can get access to them. I mean, I think if we do have an account, we should maintain it, and I don't have any problem updating it along with the DDIC as well.
Do we have an existing linked account, or we would have to open one, establish one?
My understanding is we have an existing one. I don't have any idea who the administrator or administrators were, but all I'd have to do is reach out to Lincoln. We can reset the profile, and I can become the administrator, and then we can update it. We can modernize it, and then we can grow it with involvement from the DDIC as well.
Thank you.
No problem.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Ms. Karen, any questions?
No questions.
I will entertain a motion to,
We already have the motion.
Motion?
This was discussion. I'm
Mr.
voting in favor. Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Motion passes. Thank you. This next item, I don't think we're going to be taking any action on it, but I would like to hear from Mr. Mullen, and then I want to add something to it just to let people know, and then we will establish a timeline as to when we will bring this up for an official vote.
Yes. Yes. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like in the town of Dayton general bylaws, we do have a junkyard, like an automobile graveyard bylaw that we've had in my understanding as a bylaw for quite some time now. But we in the board through the annual licensing process have never implemented yet. We have never implemented the bylaw. So we have a bylaw, but we don't have a process or a licensing or approval process to implement the bylaw. So over the last few months, especially after the December 2021 license approval process, we've been looking into why, we haven't, why we haven't ever licensed or approved the junkyard or automobile graveyards, so-called, that we have in town. We do have a number of them, and also talking with the building commissioner, he has confirmed his understanding of the bylaw as well, but he also agreed that it's never been implemented by the Board of Selectmen. So,
Mr. Aguirre,
here we are.
could you come up, please? It is my understanding that we have had some questions of enforcement in regards to junkyard bylaw. And I learned that although the planning board had approved a bylaw, the bylaw stated that it would be subject to the policies of the Board of Selectmen. And correct me if I'm wrong, there are no policies that have been created.
That is correct.
Would you be amendable to yourself, Mr. Mullen, and any member of the Board of Selectmen who would want to help, to reach out to other communities to get a series of bylaws to be reviewed so we can, policies, so that we can also finish this? It's my understanding, because it's a policy request, we would not need to go to town meeting since the bylaw has already been established.
Correct. Yes, I would be willing to do that. Just for the record, though, I want everyone at home to know that the junkyards don't operate carte blanche. As the only duly appointed agent to the Board of Selectmen, I frequent them, and all seem to be operating properly. However, there are some gaps within the town of Dayton that need to be closed. And that being said, one of the first processes is what you just mentioned. So I'd be more than happy to work with the town administrator and whomever from the board so that we can address and close any of those loops.
If my brothers on the board have no objections, I'd like to work with Mr. Mullen and Mr. Aguirre on this. Is that-
Sure.
Yep.
I think we can put our heads together and get some different policies.
Sure.
I'm sure you've worked with some communities already that have some in place that might be appropriate for the town of Dayton as well.
Sure, I'd be more than happy to work with you. Yep. Our intent isn't to affect the businesses that are currently here. It's just to make sure that we're in conformance with all the rules and regulations. So I'd be more than happy to.
No, thank you very much. In regards to this, yes?
Historically speaking,
Please.
ancient history.
No.
I'm not in opposition to what you're describing, but how the Board of Selectmen handled this, and the first time I ran into this, I believe, that it was explained to me, was in 2015. Class 3. Aren't Class 3s considered junkyards? So the Board of Selectmen does permit them. And I was also told at that time, when I came to the board, there is a limit. And I'm thinking is it 2, 1 or 2? Now, there may be others operating, but all I can tell you is the interpretation, as it was explained to me back then, was the role that the Board of Selectmen has is they license the Class 3, and those are junkyards. So that's part of the history you need to look into. What has been licensed is Class 3s, because I think when we did it when you brought it up this year for renewal of licenses, there were Class 3s. Is that correct? So you need to look at that. So you may not have understood that that's what you were voting on, but since you're going to develop policies, that's what the practice has been.
We had an issue come up in which we were looking for enforcement. And Mr. Aguirre came to me, Lenny, I can't enforce this, and it was blank. And there are no policy rules. There might be some general things covered by Mass General laws, but nothing specific to the town of Dayton.
And I think when you said the planning board left it to the selectmen or whatever, I just wanted you to know, I was told way back when, how the Board of Selectmen handles it is through Class 3 licenses. That doesn't mean we've got policies or procedures. That's why I'm saying I'm not opposed to what you're describing. But technically, gentlemen, you have been issuing licenses.
Right.
So now he needs to have something to enforce. Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So, I'm not sure if we need to have a motion on this, or we'll,
Do we need to make a motion to take it under advisement
Advisement?
or to table? I'm not sure.
I will entertain a motion to take this under advisement.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Mr. Mullen, the contract between the Dayton Cultural Council and Mass Cultural Council, 10 St. James Avenue, Boston, Mass.
Yeah, yes, we have, we do have for the board's approval and consideration, the FY 22 grant award to the town and the Dayton Cultural Council in the amount of, I believe, just over, $6,000.
I think it was
And,
6,500.
and I would recommend approval and acceptance of that grant, Mr. Chairman.
Unless we have any questions? No? I will entertain a motion to accept the Dayton Cultural Council's that would be 23, correct?
So no, it is the FY 22 allocation.
Does it
It's
have to
just
be
my
spent?
understanding we're receiving it very late.
Does
As
it
you
have to
will
be
note on their letter, it looks like they typically send these out in late January, early February. But this year, we're not getting the letter we didn't get the letter till May 27th.
Does it all have to be spent by the end of this fiscal year?
So no, I believe the Dayton Cultural Council has the ability to roll over their grant funding just like we roll over the other grants that we receive from the Commonwealth. So just because the fiscal year is ending doesn't mean that we can't not accept and utilize this grant funding. So no.
With that being said, I will entertain a motion to accept the Mass Cultural Council's grant award to the Dayton Cultural Council for the sum of $6,500.
I so move.
Motion made and second. Mr. Chico?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Review, discuss, and act the contract between the town of Dayton and Borges Brothers Trucking, 39 Copacabana Road, Assonet.
Yes, this, during the budget process, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we in our conversations with the Board of Health, we did discuss the fact that our current contract with Borges would be expiring at the end of this fiscal year. So this is a proposed, so what you have before you tonight is a proposed contract extension that would begin July 1st, 2022, and it's a 3-year contract that would continue on to June 30th, 2025, with rates as described in the attachment to the contract in the letter dated March 15th, 2022, with an FY 23 cost, year 1 cost of $415,000 in year 1, year 2 cost in FY 24 of $427,900 $427,900 in a final year 3 cost of $449,800. And that does include a transportation to CMAS, Zero Waste Solutions, in New Bedford Waste Services. And also the contract, the 3-year contract also spells out the disposal rates, which are also changing by the day right now, based on the waste and disposal market, which is really going to be a real focal point of the new solid waste committee. This really represents a challenge, but we do as a town have a very successful and productive relationship with Borges. And again, this proposed 3-year contract reflects a really good rate, and really valuable and diligent service to Dayton residents.
Are there any questions?
I have no questions.
Mr. Mullen, I do have a question as far as the motion is concerned.
Yep.
Do we have to read this, or can we say as presented this evening?
You can absolutely say as presented. You can absolutely say as presented this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. At this time, I will entertain a motion to renew the contract between the town of Dayton and Borges Brothers Trucking Company, 39 Copacabana Road, Assonet, Mass, for the next 3 fiscal years, beginning July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025, as presented this evening.
I so move.
Before I second it,
Under discussion.
the prices.
Yes.
It says here we would need to receive an additional fuel allowance if price is above $3.75 a gallon. It's already $5.25 or $5.50 for diesel. So those numbers are already off.
Yes, and the FY22 budget does have the ability to absorb it, as does the contingencies. Like in the early days of the FY23 budget.
Yep.
But if it's a long-term issue, we are going to have to come back and readjust it for sure.
Okay. So I second that motion.
Motion made in second. All those in favor, Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Next, recommend to appoint Jonathan Gale as a member of the Community Preservation Committee as an at-large member.
Are you taking motions?
I will entertain a motion.
So I so move.
Second.
Motion made in second. All those, Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Mr. Gales, if you're still out there, congratulations.
He's not.
Welcome. And I might add, he was a tremendous help in the negotiations to the successful completion of the award to the North Dayton Playground and the Park and Recs Committee. Thank you for all that you did in helping with those negotiations. Request to appoint Megan DeCosta as a special agent for the tobacco reinforcement.
I'll make a motion that we appoint, Board of Selectmen appoint Megan DeCosta as special agent for the tobacco reinforcement.
Second.
Motion made in second. All those in favor, Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen? Chairman Hull is an aye. Review, discuss, and act. Request to appoint a Board of Selectmen member to the Solid Waste Committee. I will entertain a motion at this time.
Motion to appoint myself. Right?
I will second that motion.
Second, you did?
Yes, I do. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. The motion passes. Let the record show that Peter Karen will be a member of the Solid Waste Committee representing the Board of Selectmen. Review, discuss, and act town clerk's request to advertise for Board of Registrar vacancy. Mr. Mullen, anything you want to add, since the town clerk is not here?
Yeah, like a pull up, so last week, the selectmen received a letter from the town clerk, that reads, dear Board of Selectmen, the Board of Registrars has a vacancy. Per Mass General Law, Chapter 51, Section 15, both political parties were sent a letter with 45 days to respond, with a list to be considered for appointment. This board is crucial to the day-to-day functions of the town clerk's office in regards to elections. The two leading political parties were both written to solicit names, and neither one responded within the 45-day time frame. Therefore, the Board of Selectmen can appoint without reference to any list. The appointment can be either a member of the Democrat or Republican political party, as we currently have one Democrat member and one Republican member on the Board of Registrars. I'm also on the Board of Registrars, unenrolled. The town clerk is the only member who does not have to be enrolled in a political party. I'm asking the Board of Selectmen to please advertise for this position and fill it as soon as possible. Please consult with my office prior to any appointments, as the candidates must have maintained their enrollment status in their party for 2 consecutive years. We would need to confirm this prior to your appointment. In my opinion, the appointment should fulfill the unexpired term through June 30th, 2023, and receive an annual stipend in the amount of $75 paid in 2 payments of $37.50. Please see the attached packet, which will answer any questions you may have on the Board of Registrars.
Mr. Chico, any questions? Mr. Karen, any questions? Mr. Mullen,
Yes, sir.
these letters, were they sent out to registered mail to the 2 political parties?
I don't have that information, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I have is a letter and the word of the town clerk on this matter. So, I mean, I do take him at his word that, based on the text of the letter, that he did send out the notifications.
Is Mr. Galucci still present? Okay, it says here the 2 leading political parties both were written to solicit names, and neither one responded within the 45-day time frame. Based on this, and unless I have any comments, Mr. Moore, please.
Mr. Galucci's said. As a member of the, or as the treasurer of the Dayton Republican Town Committee, I have no knowledge of us ever receiving such a letter requesting that we should give a list.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
is the town of Dayton under a time deadline to fill this position?
Not that I know of. I mean, I would recommend that we should do it. We do have a primary election and a general election in the fall, so I mean, I would think like an early, like a midsummer appointment would probably be appropriate. But I do think we may have. I don't think we have an immediate need tonight.
I'm only one member. But if these letters were not sent registered mail, I think they need to be done so that we have proof of service. I'm not sure what my 2 colleagues want to do with this.
I would agree that they should be sent, if they weren't sent,
I will entertain a motion.
Okay, so moved.
Well, no, what would be the motion?
That the,
Postponing?
postponing it so that the, we can make sure the town clerk can come out registered now.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second? Chairman Hull will step down, second the motion to take this under advisement, and we will place it on the agenda for the next meeting, and we ask that the town clerk be present at the meeting. All those in favor of the motion?
Are we going to discuss the motion?
Yes.
Yeah, my concern is that, and when we've been informed by the town clerk that he has mailed out these to both parties, and neither one, Democrat or Republican Party, has responded to it. I don't know if it's their policy to always send out certified letters. That's a big expense for the town. If every time we send out a letter, it has to be certified, so I'm going to abstain from this motion. I understand the concern, but I'm going to abstain.
We heard from an officer of the RTC this evening that they have no knowledge of receiving this letter. And I don't have before me the proof that that letter was sent out. So I need more information before I can vote.
So you don't think it was sent out? Is that what you just said?
I just said I do not have proof that the letter was sent out. At this time, I will ask that the chairman of the Dayton Republican Town Committee please come to the podium. Mr. Galucci,
Yes, sir.
I would like to read to you a letter that we have received from Mark Pacheco, Town Clerk. Board of Selectmen. The Board of Registrars has a vacancy per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 51, Section 15. Both leading political parties were sent a letter with 45 days to respond with a list to be considered for appointment. This board is crucial to the day-to-day functions of the town clerk's office in regards to elections. The two leading political parties both were written to solicit names, and neither one responded within the 45-day time frame. Therefore, the Board of Selectmen can appoint without reference to any list. The appointment can be either a member of the Democratic or Republican Party, as we currently have one Democrat member and one Republican member on the Board of Registrars. I am also on the Board of Registrars and unenrolled. The town clerk is the only member who does not have to be enrolled in a political party. I am asking the Board of Selectmen, please advertise for this position and fill it as soon as possible. Please consult with my office prior to any appointments, as the candidates must have maintained their enrollment status in their party for 2 consecutive years. We would need to confirm this prior to your appointment. In my opinion, the appointment should fulfill the unexpired term through June 30th, 2023, and received an annual stipend in the amount of $75, paid in 2 payments of $37.50. Your treasurer came before the board a moment ago and said that he is not aware that the Dayton Republican Town Committee and
That
its
is correct.
chairman did not receive a letter. Is that correct, sir?
We did receive a letter.
You did receive
I did receive a letter. It is correct that I didn't solicit anybody because I have been from pillar to post with my business. However, you can rest assured that I will canvass our group and see if anybody wants to volunteer and put their name forward. We have 23 members currently, and another 15 or 20 who are kind of, unofficial members. So what we'll do is we'll canvass all of them. And they can put their application forward to you, as well as I think the Democrats can do the same thing.
Well, the problem was is we had a deadline.
Right.
Either responded within the deadline,
And you can appoint from either pool after the deadline's passed.
then both sides, okay.
So I'll look for volunteers. It's really the best I can do at this point.
Thank you.
You are welcome, sir.
We have a motion on the floor.
I think I should rescind that. She's saying that he received the letter.
I will second that. I will second that. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the request as submitted by Town Clerk Mark Pacheco.
To advertise for the Board of Registers
That is
vacancy.
correct.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. So, Mr. Mullen, please instruct Mr. Pacheco to go forward as he planned.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, are there any acknowledgements? I do have one. And unfortunately, she left before I had a chance to say it. And I will make it a point of seeing her personally. Mrs. Stephanie Schechter came on board in the past year, and it has been no secret, as Mr. Moore alluded to, that the process has been contentious. And I have asked several questions and expressed several concerns over the past year. I want to assure the voters, and I want to assure Mrs. Schechter that I truly appreciate her efforts, and I look forward to working with her in the coming years. Thank you. With that being said, are there any correspondence? I do have one piece that didn't get read. The Dayton Public Library and the Dayton Council on Aging are hosting a Planning for Medicare Countdown to 65. This presentation will help you understand your Medicare health insurance options outside of your employer-sponsored coverage, whether or not you're planning to retire. This presentation and discussion is led by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts. You need help understanding your Medicare health insurance options? Planning for Medicare Countdown 65 will be held on Monday, June 13th, 2022 at 3 p.m. in the Primetime Building, 1059 Somerset Avenue. Please call us at 508-823-0095 or 508-669-6421 to let us know you will be attending. Walk-ins are always welcome. Thank you. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Selectmen regular meeting of May 11th, 2022.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made and second. Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Chairman Hull? I'm sorry, Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Approval of the Board of Selectmen FinCom Committee regular meeting minutes of May 19th, 2022.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor?
Mr. Pacheco's an aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Thank you. Chairman Hull is an aye. Approval of the warrants.
The warrants for June 1st, 2022, I make a motion that we approve the following warrants. 48A-22, $111,604.25. 48B-22, $481,000, $324.39. And 48C-22, $17,360.39.
Second.
Motion made and second. Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. The warrant dated June 8th, 2022.
I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the following warrants. for June 8, 2022, 49A-22, $114,763.26. 49B-22, $134,027.65. 49C-22, $4,807.34. And 49D-22, $4,159,067.25.
Second.
Motion made in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Karen, aye. Chairman Hull is an aye. Public input. Yes, Mr. Goulart.
This won't take long. I just want you to know you get something for the dues you pay to MMA. I attended the MMA Zoom meeting today after the assessors meeting. That's Mass Municipal Association. They thought it had something to do with, what was that term?
Mixed martial arts.
That's what they thought I was doing.
Can't you all just imagine Nancy just...
Mr. Hall, you tell him about when I was a high school athlete.
She was Woman of the Year at the, in her class.
That was a
Yes,
long time
Athlete
ago.
of the Year, female athlete.
Since then.
And Roger Duart was the male athlete of the year as well.
So what I wanted to tell you from the MMA meeting today, because I heard you talking about the contract with Borges Brothers, and I know that the cost for mattress recycling has gone out of sight, and nobody knows where it's going to stop. One of the presentations today was from a company in Virginia who has contracts with Connecticut, Rhode Island, and California, and they've been trying to get into Massachusetts. The program enlists companies that sell mattresses so that when somebody buys a mattress, there is a fee they pay to have it disposed of. So if you buy it from a company who either doesn't take back the old mattress or down the road says, we're not taking mattresses anymore, this fee is collected ahead of time on the sale of every mattress, and it goes to the state to be used to offset the cost of mattress disposal. They also have a program to recycle the contents of a mattress, and she talked about how they get, I don't know, slashed open and metals taken out, and the different kinds of products that they can make with what's inside a mattress. One of the things she asked us all to do, and I asked for the slides from the presentation, and there's a House bill and a Senate bill that's pending, and she was trying to encourage all of us to have our communities write to our reps and senators to support this, because I think the highest fee that was charged was $16, and that was in California. The Rhode Island and Connecticut fees when you purchase the mattress was, I think one was $10 and one was $11.50. So we aren't talking tons of money. And remember, that money is probably going to be around for a while because people don't get rid of mattresses every year. So I will get the slides, I will get them to Mr. Mullen and all that information. I'm going to pass them on to the Board of Health and also get back to you so that you can consider this and consider writing letters to our senators, reps, whatever, to try to get somebody to move on this. This company, I remember they presented years ago at MMA, and we're still facing this, and of course, the state has said they're not gonna allow the disposal. So it's a nightmare everywhere. Now, the interesting thing is there are companies in Massachusetts, physically located here, that take the mattresses from Rhode Island and Connecticut, and yet we can't, within the state, send our junk there. The other thing I asked her to do was to get in touch with UMass Amherst, because they have a recycling program. The last time, it's been a while, they have a building that deals just with recycling. And I figure they must have tons of mattresses to get rid of. I mean, considering the number of students that live on campus. So she's going to get in touch with UMass to see if they have anything. I know when I was an employee, I remember going to that facility, and they would allow communities to bring in electronic junk, I'll call it, because they had they would take it all apart and separate the junk from the good parts. So it would be interesting to know what they do with their mattresses from the dorms. The other thing I'm going to check into personally is there's a company in Fall River that is now being advertised as making mattresses. And they're selling them to the big retailers, or selling them through the big retailers. So I told our MMA committee chair, I will look into that to see if they can point us in any direction. It would seem if they're making them, maybe they can tell us, hopefully more than what is happening in our state, which is right now nothing. So anyhow, I just want you to know this is a priority again for MMA. And at our next meeting, we're going to talk about developing something to send to the legislature to try to get some support for this. They were shocked when I started telling them. I said, we actually have our bulky pickup this week. And the amount we charge to pick up a mattress, or if you take it to the transfer station, no way covers the kind of money we're looking at. So I'll have more info for you.
There are 2 positions on the solid waste for members at large. If you're interested, reach out to Ms. Catavia or Mr. Pilling. Please forward that information to them.
I definitely will.
Or Mr. Mullen, and he'll get it to them. One of the things...
You had me worried. I thought you were going to ask me to be on that committee, and I'm saying...
No, that's your choice, but there are 2 positions open.
No, I'll be the liaison for Mass Municipal, okay?
One of the things that has happened is that the rules and the amount of effort to meet the laws that are coming down have become so complicated, so time-consuming, that we had to form a committee of 9 people to work on this.
Most communities have solid waste committees. Mr. Ferry and I have attended a number of presentations at the Rentham Library, sponsored by the DEP, and at several of those meetings, solid waste was topics. And I know I've come before the Board of Selectmen, both as a selectman and as when I was on the FinCom, and said, we've been working on this, meaning MMA. And I know that I had heard this presentation before, so with all of the difficulties the Massachusetts communities are facing, we're going to try again, but hopefully we can get a letter writing campaign from the communities to our reps and senators and do something.
Yeah, because if we had hired, it would have cost us a great deal of money to hire someone to oversee just solid waste.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're very fortunate. We have the spirit of volunteerism in this town. We have 9 people that are willing to volunteer their time to help make this happen. But they have a lot of work to do, even
Yes.
for those 9 people.
Yes, yes. Yep. And yes, they're paid positions because the people that presented to us were from communities, and they talked about their public education program. As a matter of fact, I get in the conversation about what we do for public education for stormwater, and we were comparing notes about the kind of things we do to reach certain age populations. So that's, as you know, that's why we focused on children this time. But anyhow, I just wanted to pass this on to tell you that with all of the difficulties involved with that, MMA is again, at least the committee I'm on, is again trying to get something done, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Reynolds, you had a question.
Paul Reynolds, 725 Main Street. Not questions so much as, first of all, I just wanted to thank the Lions for all the hard work that went into the Couch Festival. I know we've got some Lions here tonight. I'm very, very grateful. I know a lot of work went into it. I think it's fantastic. I also just wanted to express my support for the Dayton Industrial Development Committee Commission. I think that's fantastic, and I'm glad that they're going to be increasing their digital presence. They've got a very slick new logo that I watched the last meeting, and it's really impressive. So now that they're going to be on social media, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And additionally, I'm going to be in Amherst for the Massachusetts Collector Treasurer Association in August. It's a 4-day program, so I will be up there. If there was anything that I could do, scouting out or anything in regard to the recycling program in reference to the mattresses that we were discussing, I would be happy to take a detour during some of my time in scenic Western Mass. Lastly, or two things, also I wanted to thank the Board of Selectmen for bringing attention again to the Council on Aging Medicare eligibility seminar on the 13th. As the new payroll and benefits administrator for the town, I will be attending that because I'm frankly very interested in learning about that. And lastly, my request would be, I was picking Director Bella Powell's brain on her way out the door about when the elder abuse seminar with District Attorney Quinn was going to be. She said they're still firming up the dates pending his availability. And I guess so I did have one request that I would be deeply appreciative if the Board of Selectmen would call that out as it gets a little closer and just remind people. Elder abuse has been something it's been very near and dear to me for the duration of the time that I've worked in the financial services industry. And I just think that it's fantastic that the town is being proactive in drawing attention to that. And that was all I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anything further? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.